Well, hello dinosaur lovers, it's the Jay Shrayway. Welcome to the channel, and we got a movie review today. It's going to be for Jurassic World Dominion. It is the 6th overall Jurassic movie and the 3rd in the Jurassic World franchise, which up to now has been kind of forgettable for me. I enjoy Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, but I've only seen them once. I never revisited them, and that usually indicates to me if a movie is really that good or worthy. And I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Jurassic World Dominion falls in that same category. The big kicker for this movie was the returning OG cast of Sam Neill as Alan Grant, Laura Dern as Ellie, and Jeff Goldblum, my personal favorite, as Ian Malcolm. Thankfully, they do get a lot of screen time. I mean, they are just as much as main characters as Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, maybe if not more. I would say Jeff Goldblum's Ian Malcolm has the least amount of screen time out of all the main characters, but he still has some memorable moments. I think all three of the returning cast have not missed a beat. They play their characters perfectly, they serve their purpose greatly, but the purpose isn't that worthy for them to come back after 20 years. I thought the script was just another Jurassic script. They become very formulaic, and with Jurassic World being the 3rd movie with world in the title, Jurassic World, you hear that, you expect apocalyptic almost. You expect it to be vast and cover like all of the world. While there is a lot of globetrotting in this movie, it still feels restricted. It feels just like the other movies. There's more lab work and more stuff going on in the jungle than there is the open world. But I will say the locations and some of the open world stuff are the best parts in the movie. I mean, there's some stuff that goes on a glacier, and the opening in the snowy cabin area, all that looked and translated great, and it was really cool to see the dinosaurs in these atmospheres, but you don't really get a feel of them taking over the world still. It just feels like they are supporting characters in their movie. I expected with this being the 3rd movie, they're really going to unleash and make a plot about people surviving and adjusting to this culture of dinosaurs living among them. And the way they handle it is it's a normal thing, and it's kind of fun in some ways. I mean, there's an underground thieving area with a lot of like the lowlifes in the world, and they're doing gambling and all these things, cockfighting with dinosaurs, and that leads into the bike chase you saw in the trailer, which is the highlight of the movie. I mean, I would pay for a ticket just to watch that scene again. I thought the Chris Pratt bike stunts looked awesome. I don't know who really did the stunts, and the dinosaurs, the sounds of their mouths chomping, it never gets old, and you get a lot of that. And that scene does go on for a while, so you get your money's worth with that. It wasn't really short-handed on the action there, but the rest of the movie had cool set designs and ideas, but the scenes wouldn't go on that long. You really just get an opening montage of news reports of just what's happened to the world, almost a documentary style, showing shots of things recorded of dinosaurs living among us and all that. But that's all it really plays out to be. You don't get to see how the world really handles this. They isolate us in a lab for a lot of the movie, and there's this subplot with the cloning and then also locusts, which isn't really a spoiler because you learn that early on in the movie, and by the end of it, it doesn't really amount to much. It doesn't feel like a fully fleshed out idea. It felt like something they just threw in there last minute that didn't really serve the actual full plot. And the dialogue in this movie was really dumbed down. Even whenever Ellie and Alan reunite, it's a beautiful moment thanks to the actors and their faces and how much we've grown to love them. But the things they're saying are just like, okay, it doesn't really feel like a big payoff. And that's where I'm gonna bash the movie a little bit, because this is 6 movies in. This probably will be the last one, but it is a franchise you can milk forever. But they don't really treat it like the final entry. They made you think that from the trailers with the returning cast. And while you get a lot of them at the end, the 3rd act is really fun whenever everybody comes together. It still doesn't feel like the end with all this going on with the dinosaurs and the locusts and all the things that could be destroying us and all the talk of our destruction. The stakes still never feel high. But I guess that is the charm of the Jurassic franchise. They're always fun, and they always level out the thriller aspects and the scare scenes really well. They've done that since the original. And this movie does have some Spielberg-esque feels to it. The music and even the way they film some of the action I thought looked great, but it's definitely more like a fan of Spielberg. This is not up to that caliber. Don't think I'm comparing this to Steven Spielberg's directing, but you can tell they studied the movies, but it felt like fans that like the movies like us, we could make on our YouTube. And in that regard, I had a fun time. I didn't regret seeing it, but I just wish this franchise would further itself and reach for something different than what it has been for 20 years now. We also get a new character. I'm not sure the actress's name, but I'm sure she's gonna pop up in a lot more. She's captivating to look at, and she's very charismatic, but I don't even think we learn her name in the movie, and she's kind of just there to serve as the pilot, and it just really, when you think about that, it shows how bad the writing is in this movie. Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt are great in it, as always, but at this point they seem more like brother and sister than an actual couple. I mean, I kind of forgot they were a thing, but I did enjoy them both in it. They're both great as these characters. I just wish they were given more than just being surrounded by dinosaurs and looking around. And of course, the infamous Chris Pratt. They really memed that in this movie. You get it to an obnoxious amount, even to where side characters do it, and it felt like they were playing around with the joke at first, but then the joke gets old while the movie's going on. But there's no decisions in this movie I really hated. There's nothing like The Last Jedi where they retcon everything, where they destroy or tarnish the legacy of Jurassic Park. So while I'm not being so positive about this review, I wouldn't lean into all the negatives you're hearing and people treating like this movie is abysmal, because as a casual Jurassic Park fan, I was brought back into the enchantment of dinosaurs and the magic. I felt a little bit of the magic, but the magic trick doesn't last the entire movie. And then the villain is another corporate head who's definitely mimicked after the owner of Apple. He really hams it up in his performance. They make him so awkward. It's one of those smart guys, so smart that he's awkward. But it just becomes like weird and cringy, and not in the way you're expecting. One more thing I wanted to add is there's not too much humor in this movie. They have jokes, but they don't really ever fit and they don't ever land. The theater I was in wasn't really packed, but nobody really laughed at anything. And I feel like the only chuckles that were had were not intentional, people laughing at the movie. Overall, I'm happy with the movie. I'm not satisfied, but I am satisfied as a Jeff Goldblum fan. It just sounds weird in a movie with dinosaurs and T-Rexes and pterodactyls and all kinds of other species that a 60-year-old Jeff Goldblum stole the show more than the dinos. With all that being said, this movie gets a 2.5 Goldblums out of a possible 5 Goldblums. That's it for this review. Let me know what you thought of the movie or what your favorite Jurassic Park film is so far, and if you plan on seeing this. I think everybody should at least give it a chance, but if it's between this or Top Gun Maverick this weekend, go see Maverick. This is the Jay Stray Way. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.